there is a concept or an idea that most Hispanic parents are very easy with their children. They're very permissive. Because sometimes you could be in a church or somewhere and you see the little kids running all over the place and you know, sitting in front of the priest, or they're crying or they're playing, and they're not controlled well. And people believe that maybe the Hispanics or Latinos have more relaxed manner of treating with their kids. They don't. They just love their kids a lot. And they believe that the kids is more important than having even a marriage. If there is no children in a marriage, the marriage doesn't exist. So even parents will stay together just because of the children. And when they will go, you will never see them spank their children in public. And when they will talk to them, they will talk to them in terms of endearment, like papito, mamita. You know, they will talk to them in little words to let them do whatever they want. So you will not hear you have a timeout. So people can think that they are very permissive with their children, but they do not show whatever they do in public. Their privacy is very important, and they're very, though you would say, oh, they don't want to do that in public, but they run their children run in public. You know, again, it's the way they see things. Genders, what's in a name? A lot of people get confused by the Hispanic or Latino names. So for example, if someone is named Jose Placido Domingo Garcia, they don't know where to start. We will just assume right away that Garcia is the last name. Garcia is not the last name. The last name is Domingo. And let's say why. When there are 4 names like that, the last one is the mother family name. So it's not the official last name of the person. The third one is the father's last name, actually the family last name. So after 2 generations, a female will lose actually her last name. But if a female gets married to a person, they do not acquire their last name automatically like I did, for example. Like my last name is Andrade. They will not do that. They will not just adapt the name. They will be called, like for example, if we have a Maria Luisa Domingo Garcia get married to Carlos Sanchez, her name will be Maria Luisa Domingo Garcia de Sanchez. The last name of the husband will be added after de, D-E. And that will be the last name of the husband. And I know it's a lot of confusion when it comes to medical charts. It's a bigger confusion in immigration. And you have a lot of names that are Juan and Jorge, and that all, and there is a lot of Garcias, there are a lot of Martinez, and there is a lot of Alvarez, you know, so you can get confused between all that. So the best way to do that is always call the patient or whoever you are treating with their first and last name and ask them if this is the proper way to say the name. To make sure that you have the right chart or the right file in your hand. That you're doing the proper case file for that person. Because they could have the same exact name, but it could be their mother name, it's confused between the last name and all that. That's why what's in the name is very important. Is that clear? Or should I say it again? Because it was very confusing for me in the beginning too, so yes.
And it's not used here as much, but in Mexico, when the wife uses the husband, they're called Maria Luisa Viuda de Garcia, or de Sanchez.
Yes, and they will not be called Mrs. Carlos Sanchez. They will not be called the name of their husband.
No.
They will not be called Mrs. Carlos Sanchez. Like I would be called Mrs. Joe Andrade, you know? But they will not be called that way in Mexico. She would have to be called by her name, her last name, and then or and the name of the last name of the husband. Yes.
So what was the child's name? What was Maria's child's name?
Okay, Maria's child name will be the first. It depends if they have first name and second name. Like they have like Maria Luisa. It could be Pedro, Juan Pedro, and it will be actually the name of the father. That will be, in this case, will be Sanchez, and then her name at the end.
Garcia?
Garcia. Garcia.
Why
No, I'm
not?
sorry, Domingo.
Yeah,
Domingo.
okay, Domingo.
Yeah, see, I'm even getting confused. Yeah, Domingo. So the name of the child will be, the first last name will be Sanchez of the father, and the second one will be Domingo of the mother. It took me a while. You know, I started learning this. I worked for Iberia, the Spanish Airlines, for a while, and in Spain they do the same thing. They carry the mother last name as well, as respect. So it was like really confusing in the beginning. And after all that, the signature, when Hispanics or Latinos sign a document, they don't sign it like we do. Usually we like everybody, even if, especially in immigration or whatever, you like to have to write a name that can be read. Hispanics feel that they have to be very specific, so that could be anything, you know, as a signature that you won't even be able to read.
Yeah.
So you can then even never be sure that who's the right person to call. And that's why it's hugely important that you ask them how they want to be called. At the end of the day, in a very simplistic way, always ask the person, how do they like to be called? You know, what do they prefer? You know, before starting anything, and that will save you a lot of frustration, a lot of time. And that will actually build that relationship between you and the patient. So the next part of the genders in the Latino culture is machismo. Machismo is a macho man. And it's not the village people macho man. Okay? So, no, it's macho man. Machismo, people have that idea that the macho man in Hispanic culture is basically the man that is like always fighting, always powerful, always having the dominance, and it's not necessarily that. A macho man meaning, or machismo in the Hispanic or Latino community culture means that someone is taking care of their family. So they defend the honor of the family, even if it means that they have to fight for the honor of the females of the family. And they provide everything. They provide house, money, life, whatever it is. So we need to know, to kind of differentiate between the stereotype of machismo and the real meaning of machismo in the culture. The real machismo in the culture is a man basically taking care of his family, taking care of his women, taking care of defending the honor of his wife, his daughters, even the females in his family. While the stereotype is what we see in movies, are the people that have all kinds of tattoos and they fight and gang members, and it's not necessarily that. That being said, it doesn't mean that there is a percentage of Latino men that are like that domestic violence exists in the Hispanic, unfortunately, culture, like a lot of other cultures. So, and then there is, versus the machismo, there is the Marianismo in the females. And Marianismo, where the female, Marianismo comes from marriage, that they believe in marriage, they raise their children, they sacrifice anything that they can do for their children and for their family. They have a lot of belief in the family, and again, their idol is Virgin Mary. If she could go through all these sacrifices, the least we can do is to accept the sacrifices and the hardship that we can go through in life for our children and our family. So they self-sacrifice whatever it is. And by the way, Latinas, yes?
I just wanted to say the machismo, I see many times with the teenagers being 14, 15, 16-year-olds, the girls' parents will, of course, automatically want the boy to quit school, find some kind of work so he can take, and many times his parents also agree to this. So he has to quit school, now go to work somehow to be able to and take care of his woman and the baby.
Especially,
which is very sad, of course.
It is, but again, you need to look at their socioeconomic factors.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have any other choice? The answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
If they had another choice, I'm sure because of the family and before they care about their kids, they would have sacrificed everything they have to make sure to put their kids in school. But again, you know what I mean? It's like, it depends on the socioeconomic effects they come from. Okay? I was saying, okay, that's the one, and all, the women, we have that idea that Latinas are very poor, weak women that have to like conform to everything the husband is saying. It's not always the case. Latinas are very strong and they stand by themselves, especially when it comes to children, especially when it comes to religion, especially when it comes to their family. I mean, there are a lot of families that are basically the power of that family. They are the backbone of any family. That's basically what it is. So, and also, again, there is some domestic violence in the Hispanic culture. Any questions about that before we? Because I know, Eileen, you had questions about machismo.
No, you covered it.
Did I answer it?
Especially the, because like so many of us have the negative connotation
I know.
on the stereotypes, so just the